this week is the first week that we've had our new family member, our cat Callie, short for Callisto. And I mean, I've owned multiple cats in the past, and so I knew basically what to expect, I knew she was going to have a lot of anxiety at the start. I knew that she was possibly going to struggle with integrating, because obviously we can't communicate with her what's going on and why this is happening, why her whole life has changed from the life that she knew, living with 2 dogs in a house, to the life that she has now, which is just where she's the only pet with people who aren't always around. And so I began to notice some of my old habits, my old patterns emerge. And what I mean by that is she has began to pee on rugs, and this morning I discovered that she, took a crap in the middle of the kitchen. So she's definitely struggling, for sure. And my immediate response was one of anger. It was like this flash of rage, And so I immediately went, okay, no, this I don't want to have my reactions be the same that they used to be. Reaction out of anger, out of frustration, out of blaming the animal for something it doesn't understand what it's doing. And I realized that immediately underneath that anger was this sense of worry. And all I had then was worry that she's sick, or that she'll never stop this sort of behavior, and she'll go and ruin our sheepskin rug, this sort of thing, ruin our possessions. And even in thinking that, I have to wonder, how important are the possessions to me, really? Am I still just allowing my possessions to control me? More than this living being we decided to adopt, who we need to trust us, who we need to gain her trust. And so I did what any good pagan would do. I went to meditation, after cleaning it up, of course. I went into meditation, and I went and I spoke to my gods. And so I asked our goddess, I said, I'm worried about Callie, because she's been using the bathroom all over the place, not in her litter box, even though we know she knows how to use the litter box. And I responded in anger. And so, how do I make this better for her while we help her through this transition, without her actions being considered a negative in my mind, and causing me to potentially react with that rage impulse that I have. Star Goddess said it's simple. She's just afraid. She just needs love. In loving her, you can gain her trust and calm her nerves and show her that there's a better way. And through love, you don't need to be angry. You don't need to react in rage. So I said, what can I do with this anger, with this rage? How can I use it? Because I don't believe that anger or rage is necessarily an inherently bad or negative trait. She said, well, when you get angry, focus on what makes you angry. And use that anger to show a form of determination for making the situation better than it did before. And she instantly showed me my job, which my day job at a retail place, admittedly, it causes me quite a great deal of frustration and anger in its own right. And she said, use that anger to go towards showing the job what it is that they're going to miss when they lose you. Be determined to be the best for each customer who comes across your path. That's something I've noticed about deities, is they don't seem to stick to one topic, you know? They sort of bounce all over the place. However, I feel like they stick to one theme, if that makes sense. And apparently today's theme was righteous anger. She said that anger can be used for good reasons, for good purposes. You just have to direct it. It's when anger doesn't have a singular focus and direction that you can funnel it into something healthy. That's when the issues arise. So when you are hyper-focused and directed towards something in an unhealthy light, that can lead to extremely negative consequences. And when you aren't focused with your anger, and your anger is just widespread amongst everything that comes across your path, that also leads to negative consequences. So it's sort of a necessary squaring out of things. Think of it as 4 quadrants, right? In the top 2 portions, you have focused and unfocused. And on the other axis, you have healthy and unhealthy directions. Now, obviously, healthy, focused anger is the quadrant you want. Because frankly, there's something wrong with each and every one of the other 3 quadrants. Because if you have the unfocused, healthy anger, you're not really able to get anything done. It's not able to be utilized. And if you have focused, unhealthy anger, is probably the worst one. Because that one is the one where you could do something really nasty. This is the one where the people who kill people and bomb places and do this sort of thing take out their anger on a specific group of people or a specific person or a specific thing or a specific idea and actively work to destroy it because they believe that that is the source of their anger. And of course, the 4th quadrant being unfocused, unhealthy anger. Well, that's just impossible. How are you supposed to ever do anything if all you are constantly angry at everything that comes across? I wouldn't even know what to do in that situation. Like, I'm not one who's ever been in that quadrant, so it's hard for me to know and understand what would be beneficial to do next about that. And so, after thinking through the whole righteous anger shtick, I thanked Goddess and I sent her some gratitude. And then I went into the Black Rose Temple of Earth and I asked for Cernunnos, my other patron deity, to come forth because I wanted to ask him specifically about Callie. Star Goddess, I realized I needed to just ask about my reaction to it, my own experience with it, with anger and with that frustration. Whereas CERN, I know he has dominion over the animals and the plants on the planet, and so I knew he would have an answer that would help me understand the situation better. So I called to him, and he came forth pretty readily, which was very kind of him. And I said, my cat Callie is having issues with urinating on rugs and pooping on the floor and all this stuff, you know. And I went through the whole thing, and before I even finished talking, in sort of this his gruff and stunted manner that he speaks, Cernunnos stopped me from talking and was like, "Listen, she's a feral creature, at heart, at least. She doesn't understand what's going on, so you can't communicate with her. The problem is communication. You just can't talk to her about this. And so therefore, she doesn't understand what's going on. She doesn't know what she's doing is wrong. It's only humans who are domesticated. Everything else is forced into a form of bondage and slavery in terms of doing, living, and being how we want them to do, live, and be. Although I'm not going to go so far as to suggest that we should respond with any kind of PETA-like actions where we shouldn't have any kind of pets at all, you know. I don't think that's what he was suggesting either, to be honest. But it's a form of slavery we put upon these creatures to act in a way that goes against their very nature. And that causes this disconnect. That causes this issue of communication. One of my favorite phrases my old boss used to say is that 99% of all issues are communication. And he specifically was talking about interpersonal relationship issues. Like issues at work, issues at home, things related to dealing with other people. And as far as I can tell, he's right. Everything that we do, everything we communicate to one another, is important. And when we don't have that communication, when our language fails us, it's impossible to get anything done. It's impossible to move forward without hindering everything. Because that's the miracle of language, is that we're able to discuss these things with one another. The biggest issue you have with things like a fly in your house or a spider in the bathroom is that you can't tell them you don't want them there. You can't tell them to leave. So instead, most people in this culture will just kill them because they don't want them there. That is focused, unhealthy anger, right in and of itself. Destruction for no reason other than it being there. I just had to take a moment to sit with that thought because that really, it's such an interesting concept. I had to really let it soak in, you know. And so had I reacted negatively to my cat pissing on a carpet, or shitting on a floor, that would have been unhealthy, focused anger. And through meditation and through logical contemplation, I was able to circumvent that negative reaction. And instead focus it into something that's healthy and determined and focused. Like my passion for doing these, like my passion for continuing forth with my Ferifyre stuff. With like my passion for being the best I can be at work without worrying about what the managers think of me, without asking them for permission to be better than what they say I need to be. What a great way to start the day. And with that, I bid you adieu. And remember, a witch bows to no one, not even the gods. Peace.